I hope you guys had a wonderful holiday, a wonderful weekend. I did. My brother celebrated
Yes.
his birthday.
Birthdays was the worst days. Now we sip champagne with the first day.
I don't know what that is.
You don't know what that is?
I don't.
You're not out here in the streets.
No, I'm not in these streets. You
That's
can
shout
get
out
right.
Biggie Smalls,
Oh, that's Biggie
Notorious
Small.
B.I.G.
Oh, yeah. See that goes to show you.
That's lyrical genius right there.
I don't know.
Birthdays was the worst days.
Okay, yeah, I don't know.
Now we sip champagne when we're thirsty.
Okay. Hey, Dad. Hey, Natasha. My sister. Hey, Vera.
Hello, 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 hello.
Hey, everybody.
Hey, Elder. Hey, baby. Hey, Sister Vera. Hey, everybody.
So, we have been talking about, we've been dealing with this whole, just,
What's up, Apostle Coleman?
smart daddy.
Brother.
We've been talking about managing our emotions,
Yes.
not allowing our emotions to manage us.
Yes. Larissa Hall, what's up, sis?
Hey, Larissa. And so today, well, I was going to ask the question because,
I'm tying everything in the Obadiah today, Sister
Yeah.
D. Everything.
Yes, Vera.
Promises.
I
But I asked some Obadiah questions too. I'm gonna be jumping on them.
I was, of course, I watch CNN all the time. And, there's just stuff that this 45th is doing that is causing so much. Literally, when I was watching yesterday, I could feel the tension just in the commentators. Don Lemon.
Yes. Who's always tense.
Yes, he
I
really
love
is.
him, but
He is.
he got
And
a big
then-
role to fill.
He does.
Yeah.
And then, what is his name? I forget the other guy. Caucasian gentleman. Very radical.
Chris Cuomo.
Yes, Chris Cuomo.
Shout out Chris Cuomo.
Yes, watching him too. And he's I think he has a controlled tense about him.
A control tense.
Like he's controlled in his.
He is controlled.
Yes. No?
I don't know. Chris is extremely. You see, I'm rocking it off. Like me and Chris, we be hanging out playing ball together. Chris Cuomo is extremely intelligent.
Very. That's why I watch.
He's a lawyer. So he's got his law degree and has actually written some policy, written some law. Not in the senator way, but at the state level. So I think a lot of times that a lot of intellect comes with comportment. Because after a while you start to understand your perspective change.
Right.
As you gain more information, your beliefs change.
Yes.
Which changes your perspective.
Yes.
Which change. Y'all remember?
Yes. With
Right.
your emotions
It
and
changes
your
emotion,
behavior.
and it changes your behavior.
Absolutely.
We did talk about that last week.
We did.
And that's an example of it. Like, when you start to really embrace the world doesn't really owe you, and you embrace that people are people, and people do things and say things and are prone to act certain ways.
Right.
You come to understand that, and your perspective of what people do and say shifts a little bit, and allows you a chance to really kind of address it and speak to it in a different way than people who truly don't understand and don't get it, and they get mad and their emotions kind of get in play, and then they start to act out.
Right.
But
just watching both of them, with the recent issues with this 45th president, and God knows, what I was saying was I feel like the tension at times from people, You know what I mean? Well, what is he going to do next?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There was a poll, and actually February, the poll was based on how many folks in our country believe that he is dividing our country, opposed to those that believe he is uniting our country. And the poll number was, I think it was 64 believes that he is dividing our country. Thus, the other percentage, which is what, 39, 38, something like that, believes that he is 36. Believe that some of the analysts on, you can even hear it help people to gather their minds and to start thinking differently as you were talking.
Challenge your beliefs. So here's how we can challenge our beliefs around just that topic we just talking about, right?
I mentioned Kaepernick too. Mention Kaepernick too, because they were
is it true that Donald Trump has divided our country?
Wow.
Is it true that the racial and the gender issues, the race issues, the class and social and economic distances that exist between groups of people, did Donald Trump bring all that into play?
Or did it already
No.
exist?
Donald Trump has not divided our country. Our country is already divided. Our country is built on a divisive economic structure.
Right.
And so while I am not a fan of the president, I didn't vote for him, wouldn't vote for him again. I think that I'm clear to say that I think that he's doing a horrendous job as I mark him as a leader. I think he's doing a horrible job. His actions are divisive.
Right.
But when you have a leader who comes into an environment that is divided and his actions are divisive, you can't say he has brought division, into our environment. It's just simply not a true story. So if you take away the reality that Trump has not brought division into the country, and that, maybe he plays on it a lot. He promotes it. He continues it. He perpetuates it. Yes to all those things, right? If we take that away, though, that he's not the cause, he's not the root, it can allow you in your personal space to start to really deal with how do you reconcile the division that's going on in your community?
Right.
How do you then start to respond to the racial, economic, social, gender divide in your community?
Right.
And that's where you start to become active. That's how you can become an activist and take action in your immediate community to affect change. And then there's hope again.
Right.
Right? Because there's hopelessness saying it's the President of the United States who's doing all this. I can't change the federal government. I can't change America. I can't change the president. Right? Well, that's all a falsehood because it's not him. It's the way our culture is, the way our society is. And you individually can start to change that. You can change it in your home directly. Right. You can change it in your personal relationships directly. You can change it yourself by becoming more culturally aware, by becoming more culturally competent of just society in and of itself. Oh, I have a white friend. Oh, I have a black friend. Oh, I have a gay friend. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. True culturalism is understanding different cultures, being able to communicate effectively with those cultures, being able to respect their diversity and who they are and what they bring, right. And then being able to find commonality and have some shared experiences. Right. That's something we can do in our home, in our churches, on our jobs, and with our neighbors, and that's how we affect change.
Absolutely.
There's hope right there.
When you were talking,
change is hope.
My baby's calling me. When you were talking, y'all, excuse me, y'all.
They're playing us off the air. It's like they ain't like that. Socialist talk. trying to see the rest of Sister Vera's message. She says, do you think that the reason why we are hated so much is because the Bible tells us who we really are? See more. How do you see more? Can you see more? And Sister Vera, you need to qualify who we, what we you're talking about.
So let me, because
I hope to see the rest, and I will address it.
Yeah, because I can't pull it up either. Even though.
Hey, Shakira Johnson.
Yeah, I think that was just it.
Okay. What we are you talking about, Sister Vera? Who are the we?
Right.
Who are the we?
We, African Americans, we meaning Christians.
Right.
So as you were talking, and I'm paying attention and listening, Vicky Caldwell said that, you know, this was nothing, this happened way before. And so my mind, I wrote this down. I said, I believe that the 45th has illuminated what we as a country have hidden for so long. So there was always this divide. There was always this tension.
Sure.
You know what I mean? But he just, being who he is, he just came and probably opened up the door, opened up the floodgates. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't even know if he did that.
I think he did this is when I say I believe he opened up, when I say illuminated, right? He, because of tweets, because of his words, because of his actions, this was already here. You know, so when you illuminate something, you kind of shed a light to what's already there. No, and I don't mean any disrespect when I say this, you know, in some homes, you know, when you turn the lights on, all the roaches scatter. You know what I mean? Or you can see them. You know what I mean? And so because of that, I believe that his presidency has kind of turned some lights on. You know what I mean? And illuminated some stuff. And here's the other piece. We have, and I say we, and I'm going to say culturally. So whether it's African Americans, whether it is Hispanics, I believe this. I'll just use those two, right? We have placed the blame on everybody else except taking ownership in what we can change and what we can do. You know what I mean? Well, because he did this is the reason why I am the way that I am. No, you are the way that you are because this is what you choose. You choose to not, with the power that you do have, because most people don't even believe that they have any kind of power, but your words are power. You know what I mean? Sure. Which then, as we talked about, which translates to your action at some point. You have the power to bring about change. But if you choose not to, and you keep pointing the finger and placing the blame on somebody who has, now I'll venture out to say this, he has some kind of power.
Sure, he's got a lot.
You know what I mean? But as it pertains to you and what you can do, he can't control that.
Right.
You know?
Right. You too have a lot of power.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
So
Shakira Johnson said he didn't cause it, he fed it. Yes. And I added there, Shakira, I don't know if you saw it. I said, and feeds it.
Absolutely.
Current tense. Sister Vera, I was following you, said the Lost Tribe. I just asked you to explain which Lost Tribe you're referring to. I don't want to assume we're talking about the same group of people. It's interesting because, what's up, Steph?
Hey, Steph.
It's interesting because, you know, I think if we don't challenge where we are, if we don't challenge who we are, and come to understand better who we are, then our discomfort with others will always exist. You know, we'll always feel uncomfortable around others when we don't really understand who we are.
Right. Hey, Uncle Mine.
You know, he said he just turned the lights on.
Yeah. When I was
Yeah.
saying, you know, about the illumination, because honestly, because there are days when, and I'm telling you, and maybe this is not a great thing, where I am engulfed in CNN.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
And I'm listening to all of the things, even about the whole impeachment.
Right.
Right?
Sure.
And I'm saying to myself, this is me. I ain't talking about nobody else. We know people, right?
Right. I know one person right now.
What
Oh.
I'm saying,
Right.
where did I go wrong?
With what?
In my assessing the damage and acting in my community where I can make change.
There you go. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Where?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know.
Where did I miss it?
Yeah, I don't know if it's
not going wrong, but where did I miss it?
Right, because I was gonna say I don't know if it's a matter of us going wrong because it has existed. You know, this predates us. This predates American society. You know, so humanity, the divisiveness of humanity, goes back to the very moment of sin creeping into the world.
Yeah.
Right, because the next thing they did was judged each other.
Right.
So the next thing they did after their eyes were open and they became like God, you know, they became ashamed of their nakedness and covered themselves up. The first thing they did in humanity when sin came in was judge each other socially. I'm naked. Let me cover up. I'm ashamed. I shouldn't be naked. Why shouldn't you be naked? God made you naked. What's the problem? I shouldn't be the way God made me.
Whoa.
I need to change.
You speaking volumes right
Right?
now.
And so if y'all understand this goes back to the beginning of humanity, then y'all can start to see that we didn't necessarily cause the problem, right? And I think what you brought in a great point is like, where can I change it? How can I help it in my own community, my own society? And I think we talked about that a minute ago. There are things you can do at home, right now, in your family, in your church, at your job, in your community.
Right. So
Absolutely. Become more culturally competent of who you are, whose you are. Become more aware of yourself. And start to make some changes. Start to challenge it. Challenge who you are. Challenge who you choose to be around, who you choose to hang around. Because guess what? So here's a part of the social structure that we have to all understand. The way I hear a lot of people feel about Trump and what he did to promote and perpetuate the already blatant hatred and divisiveness that exists in America and the stigma that exists in America is the same way a lot of people on the other side of the fence feel about Colin Kaepernick. And the fact that he shined the light and promoted and brought to bear the social injustice of police killing young black men or black men in the country not being held to bear about it.
Right.
You know what I mean? The same way some feel Trump has promoted the way that they feel Kaepernick has promoted what they see as hatred. It's just perspective. And you see how
it's just perspective.
all of the people on this side say no, but I'm right. Well, guess what? In their perspective on their side, they're saying no, I'm right.
Exactly.
You know, and until we start to understand culturally where people are coming from, we can start to have a conversation that talks about bigger things, that talks about universal truth, that talks about the need to preserve life, the need to be respectful of each other, the need to understand each other and be able to find ways for us to cohabitate on the planet together.
Right. Let me ask you something. I'm glad you said that, which leads me into, because I started writing this. How does...
Hey, Mother Franklin.
How does let us come and reason together play into this?
Yes.
And is it possible? Is it possible?
I beat you to it, Elder Debbie. All right, say hi, Mother Franklin.
Is it possible that there is a coming and reasoning together. With everything that's going on, is it possible?
Yeah.
And if so, who does it start with?
Mm-hmm. And I think so. So that's a great question. And in its context, yes, we should come with each other. I think some of the things. Hold on, Sister Vera. Here we come. I think some of the things we have to understand is reasoning together is also conducive with relationships. You know, it's difficult to reason with people that you do not have relationships with, because reasoning is also about compromise and also about trust. It's difficult to have trust with people you don't have relationship with. You know, and when you don't have relationship, it's hard to come to the table and reason with each other. Reasoning is about commonality. It's about finding that common ground. It's about finding that way that I can understand your point without agreeing with it. I can understand why you feel that way and why you believe that way.
Right.
And I can understand your fear and concern or anger in it, your emotional response. And then you can understand mine. Because we spent time getting to know each other. We spent time building a relationship that's not built around our discourse. The issue that we don't agree on is built around our humanity. If we can build relationship around our humanity, then we can have a real conversation about the things we disagree on and the things that we agree on. I would love to make America great.
You took the words out of my mouth.
I don't know about again, because I say it all the time. I don't know a moment in American history where any minority group in this country would want to go back to. What again? We don't have a again.
Right.
Every generation, thank God, seems to get better and better and better. So I'm all for let's make America great. Or even if I say America is great, because I believe America's great, right? Let's make America greater. I'm all for that. But I wear the hat.
But I think when he says, let's make America great again, I believe that is from his perspective.
Right.
Because if we go back and we talk about the 44th president, right? It's almost like I've got to fix what the 44th did because he totally made America bad. You understand what I'm saying?
Sure.
And so, with that,
and in some people's perspective, he made it bad just by being in the office.
Because he was an African American.
Right, because he was an African American. Now here's the thing. I get it. I totally get it.
I
don't agree with it.
Right.
I get it. There is a culture of people who feel in earnest that over the past few hundred years, this is their country. Because they captured it, subdued it, destroyed the culture that was already existing here, overran it, populated it, enslaved what the labor they needed to build it, and they think that they own it. That is their perspective. Plan it. I get it.
Y'all might need to pray for me.
Because you know what? We do the same thing.
Right.
We walk into an environment all the time. Right? Now, we about to hit these church folk for a second. Because sometimes we walk into a church and overtake the culture, change how things go, subdue it unto our own will, reshape it, punish those who don't go along with it, right? And then hold it by force and challenge and are threatened if anybody else comes along that's outside of your purview, your way of doing things, your people, your group, your clique, the people who are in power that exist in the church. Ask yourself in your church, how long has the group that's in power in your church been in power?
You're making some folk upset right now.
Listen, you ain't gotta get upset with me. That's just the actual factuals, right? I ain't calling nobody out. I'm saying though, ask yourself, how long has the group that's in power in your church been in power? How long have they been in power? And when someone dies or someone steps out of power, how is that person replaced? Is it replaced with somebody else that's already attached to the person in power? Because it's what it is they're constructs that are the problem. More than people, they're constructs that are the problem. They're these made up little, you know what I mean, little ideas that we come up with that are the problem.
Right. Which I'm every time you say something, which speaks to so much division.
Yes.
And
yes.
My mind, particularly when you was talking about the church, my mind goes to, and I've seen it and I've heard it, that when you can't, or when you don't succumb to what it is that we've said, you can leave.
Right.
And they do, and then they go and start their own
construct,
which then perpetrates this whole cycle.
The Christian church in America.
Yo.
Definition. Because how many denominations are there of the Christian church in America? And that's what happened. That there became a moment where the Protestants, who were the oppressed Christians and came to this country because of all the oppression in England, right? No separation of church and state, and the government was the church, and the church was the government, and all this that came along with it. And then they came here, the Protestants came here after the reform from Martin Luther.
Come on, y'all,
right?
Listen.
They left the Lutheran church, they came here as Protestants and said, we gotta come to America where we can worship God freely without the interference from government telling us what we have to do and telling us how we have to do it. Now we can worship freely. Boom. Yeah, but that's not how we pray. Oh, and it's not about baptism. No, it's not about prayer, it's about baptism. And then the Baptist church is born. Oh, it's not about just baptism, it's about the charismatic experience that you have when you worship. And then the Pentecostal church is born. Oh, it's not about the charismatic experience. It's not about baptism. It's about the actual way that you structure worship. And then the Methodists are born. And it becomes about the methodology of worshiping God. This is all just our human desire to judge each other and to be divisive.
Wow.
And you can combat it. You can fix it now. We can look at each other and say, because guess what? It's funny to me, non-denominational has become a denomination. Crack me up when people be like, what denomination are you? We non-denominational.
Uncle Mine said, give us the history.
You know what I mean? Non-denominational is denominational.
Right.
I just saw a little funny satirical cartoon, or it wasn't really a cartoon, like enactment, vignette or skit, where in church praying, and the black Jesus appears and says, yes, my child, I'm here. What do you need? And he looks up and is like, well, who are you? He says, I'm Jesus. He's like, no. Jesus? And he's like, no, really, I'm Jesus. And he looks on and he's like, no, I expect you to look like that. He points to a picture of, a white image of Jesus on the wall. And he's like, oh, yeah, I get it. I see why you would think that, but no, I'm here. Can I help you? And he's like, I guess. You know what I mean? And he's like, what is the problem that I showed up in a way that you didn't expect, that you didn't already have preconceived?
Goodness.
We contour all of this based on our beliefs and our perspectives and how we need it to happen. And if we can start to let that go, if we can challenge your belief to let that go, then we can start to understand people and we can start to have better conversations and start to heal and solve some problems. I know it shouldn't be. It seemed like it ought to be another.
I was getting ready. You took the words out of my mouth.
Another Tuesday.
But that's why we connected. So takeaway number one.
Sunshine and ocean.
So takeaway number one has got to be challenge your beliefs.
Challenge your beliefs. You have to. And the second one that I really want to kind of keep focusing on is learn how to build relationships and learn how to cherish and work in your relationships. You have to do it. I was so prepared today, Sister Vera, to really kind of to hone in on the relationship issues between Jacob and Esau. Right? Because that's the crust of Obadiah.
Yeah.
Right? It's the fallout. You know, Obadiah is the fallout of the relationship, the bad gone relationship between Jacob and Esau, these two brothers. You know, where Esau messed up Jacob, and Jacob, you know, got the birthright, and Esau's pissed about it and mad, you know what I mean, and cantankerous, and then Esau goes off and you know, his people become the Edomites and Obadiah. Right? And there's so much connected to this. And I want to show y'all, because this is the excitement of Obadiah for me, and it's in relationships.
Yes.
And I want to show you how jacked up and how far poor relationships will carry.
Right.
Right? So Jacob and Esau, mad. Brothers. Literal brothers.
So much revelation.
Fell out with each other. Right? Gone their separate ways. Esau has a family. They become Edom. They become the Edomites. Edom ends up right next to Judah. Right? And so the nation of Judah, the children of Israel, and Jerusalem. If y'all know y'all Bible history, Jerusalem split. Right. You know, the children of Israel split. The north part and the south part, right? So Judah's in the south, and right to the south of them are the Edomites. And the Edomites hated the Jews.
Yes.
Hated them. All because of Jacob and Esau. They hated them. They hated the Jews. To the point where, Arabia invades Judah. Right? Serious invasion. Bible level invasion. God kill them. Right? They rolling in, and the Jews that are able, the children of Israel from Judah that are able to escape are running out of Jerusalem, out of Judah to the south. The Edomites are lining up an ambush on the side of the road to try to kill the Jews that are escaping Judah. So, Sister Vera, flash forward to 2018. Here are these political refugees attempting to escape war and flee to another country to be free. And the people in the free country want to murder them, murder the immigrants, because of the hatred they have that stems back to relationship between these two brothers. It gets so deep, my mind about to be blown.
Yeah.
My mind about to be blown. My mind about to be blown when I'm gonna say it. Ready? It gets so deep that the children of Edom, the Edomites, go on in history. So this is like sorry, my brain tired. So Obadiah is writing like 800. Somebody look it up, make sure I'm right. I don't want to give no bad information.
Go ahead.
I think it was like 830 BC where Obadiah is writing this. Okay? This is 800 or so years before Jesus. Moses' sister even hated Moses' wife because of color.
840s, yes.
840. Thank you.
I did my research, brother. What? I had to be on point with my brother.
840, Obadiah is writing this. So this 800 some years before Jesus. Right? But it's an Edomite that joins in when Rome starts to take over that whole area. It's an Edomite that gets in good and ends up getting a government and becoming a king in Jerusalem in the Roman government.
You helping.
Right? is this Edomite, because of his ingrown hatred of Jews, that's so ready, so willing to send out the command to kill this Jewish baby that's supposed to fulfill prophecy. Right. King Herod was an Edomite. True story. Look it up, do the research. King Herod was an Edomite. Right. His hatred of Jews was beyond just, let's find this baby Jesus. Right. His hatred became, let's destroy the belief structure of these people. If I can destroy their Messiah, if I can destroy, then we're tearing away at their belief structure.
Right, right.
Well, again, this is almost 1,000 years later. All again because of a failed relationship between two brothers.
So King Herod.
Oh, she said Saul. King Herod put out the decree to kill all the babies in Jerusalem when he learned that the Messiah was to be born. And I'm saying all of that hatred, that issue, all of that, all those problems through all those generations are because of the failed relationship of two brothers.
Failed relationship. I hope we are getting this.
I hope we're getting this.
Failed relationship.
Of brothers that became different nations. And if you really kind of think about it, go back and really put it in your head, we are all brothers and sisters.
Listen, that's why I said
Black,
I hope we're getting it.
White, Asian, we're all brothers and sisters. Wow. We are all God's children. Every single culture and race and ethnicity of people in this planet, on this planet, traces back to Africa, to one people. We are all brothers and sisters. All this division, all of this hatred, all of this discourse, we are all brothers and sisters. So what we don't look alike?
So what?
So what we don't eat alike?
So what?
So what we don't believe the same thing? And black folk get so upset about race, but then we'll do the same thing to gays.
Right.
And I say gays like, there's some, right. That's a new race, right? We'll do the same thing to people who are homosexual. We'll do the same thing to people who are poor. We do the same thing to people who stink. We do the same thing to people.
We do the same thing to people who are poor. I'm trying to think of the guy. Remember the guy who, this was not that long, who, he was, I think he was from Philly, and something happened and he got a whole bunch of money or something. I can't think of it right now. It's gonna come to me. But when it happened, I don't know if he helped somebody, rescued somebody or something, but he just got like a whole bunch of dough, right? Okay. And people who actually saw what he had done or whatever the case may be, because of his past, mm-hmm. Because he was homeless and people knew him mm-hmm. as that homeless man. Mm-hmm. Folks was not accepting him for who
because he was homeless.
Yes. Mm-hmm. But he had changed, mm-hmm. right? Mm-hmm. But they were not accepting him. Uh-huh. It was almost like, no, this is who you are. You're never going to be anything other than that. Mm-hmm. This man had changed his life. Mm-hmm. Well, he had helped somebody else, which brought about this change. Mm-hmm. You'll never be who you are. Mm-hmm. Segregated him. Mm-hmm. So much so that he had money, mm-hmm. but he still lived on the street. Wow. Because of people's acceptance of him. Right. You understand what I'm saying? Right. So we do that to our own kind. Yes, when folk are wanting to change and they're doing the work to change, to bring about a difference in their lives, I should want to uphold you and not push you down.
You have to. Because the second takeaway, change is hope. We said that
is
earlier.
hope.
Change is hope.
Not building relationships.
What did we say? Second. What was
So
it?
this takeaway number 3.
Number 3. Change is hope.
Is hope.
The other number 2. Number 3.
Number 2.
Change is hope. You have to. The homeless man gave his last $20 for gas for a cup.
Oh, for the couple.
For
This is
gas.
the same guy, Uncle Myron.
For a couple. Gave his last.
He gave, okay. Maybe that's, I don't know. All I remember is that he just really, and just the treatment of him. But again, that's what we do in the body of Christ.
Yeah. And that's what we do in society.
In society, my
Listen,
brain.
And a lot of people in the body of Christ, a lot of people in the kingdom do that as well. This is why Jesus got so upset towards the end of his ministry. He started really getting upset with his people because a lot of people missed it.
Wow.
They missed the point.
Missed the point.
You know, as they're coming to him and he's ready to move forward in ministry, and they're like, "Yo, we cool, we got you," and he's like, "Well, I don't know if you got me because when I was poor, you ain't give me nothing. When I was hungry, you ain't feed me. When I was in jail, you ain't come visit me." And they missed it. They're like, when we see you like that. See, he's calling out their socialist classism.
Whoa.
Because he understood, oh, you're cool when you're in the in crowd.
Jesus.
You're cool in the in crowd.
Help me.
Right. But the people that you look down on socially, the poor, the imprisoned, the desolate people, because you won't care for them, it's the same as if you didn't care for me. That's him calling out their social classism. That's him calling out their racism. That's him calling out their neglect of poor people. That's them calling out the people who are disenfranchised and pushed aside. That's Jesus being politically activated. That's him being a social activist. That's Jesus taking the knee.
Wow.
But we missed that.
We missed that.
We don't talk about that in church.
Nope.
We shouldn't talk about it in church. It's disturbing that we can preach gospel, but not talk to our people about caring for the sick, about providing for each other, about the problem of mass incarceration. Not just visiting people as they're incarcerated,
right,
but actually becoming active and starting to change the problem with mass incarceration, about the social injustice. The truth is, Jesus is probably more disappointed that all Christians aren't taking the knee.
Whoa, that's good.
He's probably like, y'all don't really look like me.
How about that?
Because if you study him, Jesus would be on the front of the Nike campaign. Study his social views. Study his response to classism. Study his response to the oppression of the poor.
You know why? Not y'all, but we know people, right? You know why folks don't know and why people treat or do what we're talking about is because they don't study.
Right.
They think that they know God and
know.
they put Jesus, because that's what we're talking about. They put Jesus in a box and they know him. This is what he would do. Well, this is what he would do based on what? Based on your study of him?
Right.
Based on your, and I'm talking about in-depth study of him, or is it based on your perception and what somebody told you because you never picked up the Bible to really see it for yourself? Hello, somebody. And I dropped the mic. Because part of the challenge in the church is that you don't know. You think that you know.
Yeah.
And then when it comes to doing, or I'll use this, WWJD, we are so far from it that we don't even have a clue that we're far from it.
Right. Because the catchphrase came out and it was great, and it pierced a couple hearts, it pricked a couple hearts, but then we turned it into a catchphrase.
Yes.
And we put it on a bracelet.
And a t-shirt.
And then we bedazzled the bracelet so you couldn't really see the WWJD no more. And then we turned it to.
That is such revelation.
Then it was a bumper sticker that easily got covered over by the next catchphrase. And
That's what we do.
right. We made it a thing.
That's what we do.
We made it a thing.
Which then, here's the other thing that we've made a thing. We've made coming to church a thing.
Sister Vera, that's what we doing.
What?
I want you to take your part too. Do it in your house, in your community. She said we should be learning this stuff in church. We have to unite, teach the whole truth.
Absolutely.
Yes.
That's why we do live at 5.
Get on it. Sister Sharon, I love you. Sister Sharon Glass. She said she gave the story too. The homeless man helped a couple, and in return, they started a GoFundMe account, and they raised over 50 something.
Right.
They raised over 50. I think if I make this small again, I can see it. I don't know. They raised over, it keeps taking me back. Take me back. Take me back, dear Lord. They raised a lot of money.
They did.
I can't see what the situation said.
But just that whole concept, of I honestly, I wish that goes to what I always say about snatching the lie out of folks' mouths.
Yes.
Like, stop with all of this stuff.
Yeah.
Like, really study.
Right.
Who Jesus,
Right.
what he did,
Right.
how he did it, when he did it, the reason that he did what he did. And you want to see an influx of people coming to know, having a relationship with God? That is what we want.
Relationship.
Relationship.
Right. You don't help the homeless person because you don't know them. It's easy.
Yes.
Help them get to know.
She said, that's why I follow you.
Yes, Sister Vera. Birth. Get it, birth.
Yeah.
Get it.
Absolutely.
Get it.
Absolutely.
Push.
Come on.
It's time to push.
It really is.
Because the need is great. The need is great.
It is.
And we have to be infusing, we have to be sharing this stuff. It's why I come wanting to see my sister. But it's another reason why I'm so happy to come on and talk about these issues and talk about this real life and this real world response that we need to be having. Because the need is great. We got to be able to touch people. We got to be able to try to help people change. Because change is hope. For every person that you encounter that's hopeless, I guarantee you they feel hopeless because they don't believe things will change.
That is so true.
Things in their life, things on their job, things in their marriage, things in their relationship. Once they believe it won't change, then hope is gone.
So yesterday, of course it was big yesterday, but I was talking to my daughter, Chrissy, and she was talking about one of her friends. And she said, Mom, he has to do everything himself. And when she said it to me that, and I was hoping that she would get this, that you have so much support, when it comes to you and school and this, that, and the third. But then there's other kids that do not.
Mm-hmm.
And when she was telling me, I said, God, I said, please always, this was my prayer, please always cause hope to be alive in them. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Because sometimes, when you're going off to college and you don't have that support, nobody is there to undergird you. Mm-hmm. You feel hopeless because it is overwhelming.
Right.
That was just one. Sure. Then there was another young lady she was talking about. Mm-hmm. And immediately, my prayer was, God, to all of those college students that feel hopeless, thank you. And by no means am I putting my daughter out there that she got to be the savior of the world, because that's not, you know what I'm saying? That's not what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. But to all of those that she thinks about, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. My prayer is that you would give her something to say that, oh, it's going to be all right. Just saying that things are going to work out. Don't worry. You know what I mean?
Right.
Give her that, because she'll come to me as if mom has all the answers and I don't.
Right.
What I do have is a word to encourage and empower.
Yes.
That's what I do have.
Yes. And when people come to you wanting to know what can they do, ask them, how can you help change that person's situation?
I'm just clapping because
ask them, how can you help change their situation? What can you do? And I guess that's the biggest push behind the couple that helped that homeless person out by starting a GoFundMe account. They didn't have the finances to personally change this man's life, but they had the resources to help bring about change.
Right.
And in effect, this man was changed.
Uncle
Mine, they have to want to change. And I hear you with that, right? But the reality is they don't have to want to change, right? So here's why I say that. God made provision for change, right? Because he understands that another part of our nature desires God. Everybody who's hurting wants to change. The truth is, change is difficult for a lot of reasons. And you know, maybe we could have that conversation, the process of change one day. I'm kind of out of time today. But we can have that conversation. Change is provided for us, and people want change, but change is difficult. Change is scary. You know, especially if you're in deep. Right. Especially if you've done something a certain way for a long time. Change becomes hard. Change becomes difficult. And people are afraid to change when there's not support there to help them through that change.
So can we say next Takeaway Tuesday, we'll talk about the process of change?
Process of change.
Wow.
And then we got a big to-do coming up soon. We're not going to tell you the date because it may fluctuate.
Okay.
But our brothers and father, Apostle Coleman and Pastor Byron Craig, they'll come down and we go round table.
Yes.
Exciting.
Yes. So let me tell you, early this morning, and I know we got to go. Early this morning, you do. Okay. Early this morning, when I was thinking and praying, like, God, what can we really talk about today that will stay into that vein? And my question to you was going to be, how do we come together as a people to bring change?
There you go.
Well, y'all, as we drop the mic, y'all, listen, it is always a pleasure. It's always an honor to have you all on. Did we really talk? Did we get to Obadiah a little bit?
Yes, I think we went straight through Obadiah.
We got a little bit of it in there.
If y'all want to learn more about it, just, read your word and then do some studying. Right now, that area of Edom is Petra over in the Middle East. Y'all probably seen it all, Indiana Jones movies. It's like they got the city that's built into stone, right? The stone city, like the big, you walk along this cliff, and then there's this whole stone front, looks like a building, but it's carved into the stone. That's Petra, that's Edom.
Okay. So listen, absolutely love you guys. Thank you so much for joining us today on Live at 5. You all are just awesome. I will see you tomorrow right here on Live at 5. We thank Dr. Will for our Takeaway Tuesday.
We thank Pastor Dana for everything.
Whatever. He's something else. But thank y'all. We love you. See ya. Peace.